What's going on, everybody? This is the Daily Fantasy Show brought to you by DFO. I'm Josh. What is today? Today is Tuesday, November 21st. We have a nice short 3-game slate tonight, so let's just hop right in. I'll go through the games. You can ask questions when we're done. And the one thing I do want to mention before I get started is that I know I've been pumping premium chat that was on the website. We decided to change that a little bit because the chat was only 1 hour a night, and we've been struggling to get in. And if people are leaving messages, I wasn't getting notified. So we decided to make a Slack channel. It's really awesome. I'm in there, Brock's in there, Adam's in there. You can chat 24/7. I get notified when there's a message. I'm usually in there, for the slates. If you want to tilt the slate with me, you come on in and you say, oh, well, whatever, I'm winning money. I need this to win, whatever. Talk about the slates, talk about anything really. And, I'll be in there after the show. So if you have any questions that I missed, you pop in there. So I strongly suggest that you sign up for premium chat and all the premium products, which get you the premium chat. And, that's really a sweet gig, sweet deal. Right now there aren't too many people in there. So it's basically, you get one-on-one coaching, if you want to call it that, with me and Adam, Brock. So definitely take advantage of it before there gets so many people in there. I mean, even with a lot of people, I think it's good. There's a lot of ideas bouncing off each other and all that kind of stuff. So this is a win-win situation for everybody. So let's get to the slate. We have the Vancouver Canucks traveling to Philadelphia to face the Flyers. So when I built my lineup, from salary perspective, I had to use Markstrom. I'm not in love with Jacob Markstrom tonight. I do think he, at 7,200 is worth a play. He's the cheapest goalie on the slate tonight, but we'll get to that. I do like the Philadelphia top line. Outside of St. Louis, they're the most expensive line. I think St. Louis is going to be chalky. I think, Philadelphia 1 is probably going to come in lower owned than expected because you have the St. Louis's, you have the Dallases, you have the Edmontons. So I think, it's hard to get contrarian with top lines on a short slate, but I think because of price, I think Philadelphia 1 will be significantly lower owned than the top line for St. Louis. It's not my favorite matchup tonight, but it's something to keep in mind. Philadelphia 3 is a little interesting to me. I'm not a huge fan of the Philadelphia third line. There's some other third lines that I like better. The second line of Philadelphia is up there for me for second lines. I mean, there's a second line that I'll talk about that I like better, but Simmons is cheap on DK. He's only 5,000. He's on the top power play. Definitely, I'm not a huge fan of Fippola. Simmons is a good one-off because he gets top power play minutes. So I think you can go there for sure. The target for Philadelphia is obviously the top line. I think they're going to be a little bit contrarian tonight. I'm not using them because I'm using Markstrom just because of salary. I think, he's worth the shot at 7,200. Simmons is a decent one-off for Philadelphia too. If you want to use Fippola, okay. I mean, he's not on the top power play. If you can fit them at Ghost 5,300, probably a good idea. Be interesting to see who the Flyers. I might have missed it and they may have announced it, but Gudas is suspended because he's a fucking idiot. I don't know if Hag's going to be in, Sanheim, Alt. but they're all under 3,000. If you really need the salary to fit someone else in, I think you can go there for a punt. Just make sure to see who's in. Sanheim's 2,800. I think, you can take a shot there if he's in, if you want to, fit in. Yeah, I mean, Hag, 2,900, I think is a good play as well. If you need the extra 100, if it's Sanheim or Alt in for Gudas, Yeah, I prefer Ghost over Provorov. I mean, you can use Provorov at 5,000 if you need the 300, but Ghost correlates better with the top line in the power play. Shane, Ghost Bear. Oh, the second line is Wheels. Wait. Oh, Fipple got moved down. That's right. Fipple's on the third line now. Yeah, Patrick, Wheel, and Simmons. Yeah, no, that's correct. Yeah, I did. I have the screen pulled up, and I'm just talking out my ass because my memory goes to shit after I go live. But yeah, Patrick and Wheel is an interesting play. I don't know if you want to go the full line. They do provide great salary relief. I think you can use Patrick at 3,500. There's a couple other centers down there that I think you can punt as well. Patrick's going to be low owned. Wheel will be low owned. But if you really need the salary, if you're paying up a defense and you have an expensive line there, I don't mind Philadelphia too. Neuwirth is starting tonight, 8,100. Yeah, they're all in the power play together too, which is a nice bonus. Neuwirth in net at 8,100 is a little pricey for me. I don't mind the matchup. I think you can probably go there in cash. If you want to pay up in GPP, okay. It's not something that I do personally, but I understand based on the matchup, I understand if you want to use them in a GPP. On the Vancouver side, the only line that really interests me is the BBB line, Bozier, Horvat, and Barchi. They'll probably have some ownership tonight. I don't love them tonight. I don't think this is a great matchup for them. I'm probably going to be fading, but I don't really want to use the Sedins. I don't really want to use Sam Gagner, I think there's better spots to go with that salary than, I prefer, the second line of Philly to the Sedin line on Vancouver. It's funny because before the season started, I wrote down, I saved it, I took a screenshot. It was in like August. So I'm going to burn so much, I'm going to lose so much money early in the season on the Horvat line. And surprisingly, they've been very productive, and I've actually won money off of them, which is nice. The secret's out, though. They'll probably have some ownership tonight just because they do now. They're cheap and they're effective. For me, it's not my favorite matchup. Other than that, I think there's some secondary lines, even some third lines that I do like a tad better. They're 14,200, so they're cheap. I think people are going to land there, and they're going to land on St. Louis too, the most for secondary lines. I think there's some other lines that are definitely in play that are going to be a little bit more contrarian, I believe. But if you want to use the Vancouver top line, you can do it. I do like Alexander Edler at 3,600. On a short slate, anything's in play. With the Sedins are just a name now, right? So even though they're so cheap, they're not the players they used to be anymore. They're seeing reduced ice time to the Horvat line. Henrik Sedin never shoots the puck. I mean, Daniel Sedin is 3,400, which is insane. I'd almost prefer using Thomas Vanek for 200 more. I'm not a huge fan of the Canucks. I'm just trying to think outside the box. I don't mind Eriksson. I think you can do that. He's super cheap. He's 3,300. I think if you are going to use a one-off from Vancouver on the Sedin line, I think it would be Eriksson, then Daniel, then Henrik. I'm just not a huge fan of that tonight. Yeah, I'm using Markstrom tonight just because of salary. He is the yeah. Sorry. Um, I meant it as like if I'm going to use a one-off not from the Horvat line, I would rather use Eriksson or Vanek before I'd use the Sedins. That's what I meant. Markstrom 7,200 on DK, cheapest goalie on the slate. I think this is a decent matchup for him. Not a huge fan of using him on the road, but unless I wanted a super punt, a defenseman to get in, a goalie that I wanted, but there isn't really many goalies that I want. Like maybe Jake Allen, that scares me. Maybe Ben Bishop, but I like some lines on Montreal, so there isn't a goalie that I'm like, oh yeah, I need to lock him in. So I'm just going to use the cheapest guy and hope he wins. And that might be the dumbest strategy ever. But at the end of the day, when there isn't a goalie I like, I'm going to take the cheapest one because anything can happen. So as crazy as that sounds, I'm using Markstrom tonight just because of that. Yeah, I'm not using Philly at all tonight. Lindgren, I don't know. I think he's crashing down to earth, but we'll get there in a second. Let's move on to the second game of the night. We have the Edmonton Oilers traveling to St. Louis to face the Blues. It's going to be, I'm not using Philadelphia one tonight. It's going to be, but I understand if you are. I'm just going a different direction. It's going to be Jake Allen against Cam Talbot. So when the Blues played Edmonton in Edmonton last week, the Tarasenko line, shut down the McDavid line pretty damn good. However, in St. Louis, with St. Louis being able to match up, it's probably going to be the Stastny line against the McDavid line, which definitely favors the McDavid line and definitely hurts the second line for St. Louis offensively. That being said, I think St. Louis, too, is going to be chalky tonight. I did write at Vladimir Sobotka. I think at his price, $3,700, he has goals in back-to-back games. I think you can go there. The problem I have with St. Louis, too, is I think they're going to be fairly chalky because they fit with almost everybody. And people like using Stastny and Steen, who don't shoot. And that's fine. Because Mike Yeo likes to put out the Stastny line against top lines at home. That's what he does. So, Darnell Nurse is a decent one off tonight. Yeah, I do like the Edmonton top line. I think McDavid, I was, having a conversation about ownership with McDavid. I'm not really sure where he's going to fall on the spectrum tonight because you have Jamie Benn at 7,200. You have Tyler Seguin at 7,100. You have Braden Shen at 6,400, something like that. So I think, Edmonton 1 might actually fall under the radar a little bit. McDavid, people don't like using Maroon. And now Drake Caggiula is up on the top line. Draisaitl got put to the second line. The thing is, I think McDavid's going to have ownership. I don't think that line as a whole is going to have ownership. And I don't mind that top line at all. I think it's a good matchup. Maroon and Caggiula will probably be pretty low owned. I think that line as a whole will be low owned. So I definitely think Edmonton 1 is in play. It's reasonably priced, even with McDavid being the most expensive. I think you can go there. I do like the second line. Nugent Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, and Lucic. not a Lucic guy, but Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl, that's a nice 1-2 with, you can put Clefbaum in there, or Darnell Nurse, who's a nice value tonight as well. Net, I'm not a huge Cam Talbot guy tonight. Thanks. I only had to drive 30 minutes to Arby's to get a free haircut. Eat Arby's. Not a huge fan of Talbot. He is cheap, 7,300. I prefer Markstrom just because I think St. Louis is in a much better spot than Philadelphia. So I'm just plugging in Markstrom and praying. Talbot should be fairly low owned if you want to go there in GPP. If you think St. Louis is going to not score, which is risky, but six teams, 6 goalies. I think nothing's out of bounds tonight. St. Louis won. Do you hear him? Maybe he's coming down. St. Louis won, I think, is my top play tonight. They're an elite line. Shen, Tarasenko, Schwartz. They're going to have ownership. Does it matter? I don't know. I think you can differentiate elsewhere. I'm not fading on a 3-game slate because of matchup. They are 20,000. They're the most expensive line to full stack. But if they're getting a matchup with the Nugent Hopkins line, I think that is a very good matchup for them. The St. Louis line produces 9 high danger scoring chances per 60, while the Nugent Hopkins line gives up 10 high danger scoring chances per 60. I think this is a very good matchup. This is just a plug and play for me. If you can fit them with Alex Pietrangelo, do it. I think what's his face is back tonight. Not that it really matters. Jay Bouwmeester. He's 2,800. I mean, I don't know where he's going to slot in the lineup, but that's nice salary relief. Pyarko finally scored the other game. Now he's 4,600. I think that's decent. If you want Block City for 4,300, Joel Mundison, I think that's getting a little pricey for block shots, but you can go there as well. Vince Dunn had a couple assists the other game. He's 3,100. Someone just mentioned, hold on one second. What was I saying? Someone just asked about Chris Russell for Edmonton. I think, listen, if you have the extra salary to go to Darnell Nurse, I'd do that. But if you really need that 200, I don't mind Chris Russell. I'd prefer to go down to Benning. But again, Russell does block a ton of shots. I think that's underrated stat in NHL DFS. So, I don't mind Russell at 3,400. Jake Allen in net, 7,900, I think is a decent play. I couldn't fit him because of salary. I think, he's going to be a little bit chalky tonight, but that doesn't matter. This is a good matchup for him. St. Louis is sound defensively. So I think you can go there. So let's move on to the last game of the night. We have the Montreal Canadiens traveling to Dallas to face the Stars. It's going to be Ben Bishop against Charlie Lindgren. There's a couple lines I like in this game. I like the top line for Dallas, which is Jamie Benn, Alex Radulov, and Matthias Janmark. I think that is my preferred play from Dallas. I definitely like the Sagan, Shore, and Ritchie line. I'm not a huge Brett Ritchie guy, so I probably leave him off that stack and use it as a mini with Klingberg. I think you can do that as well. I also wrote up Radek Faksa, there we go, at 3,400. I think he's decent value tonight for a third-line center. Hansel is out for like a week. He has scored in back-to-back games. I think he is a decent punt if you need the salary. Obviously, my preferred play would be Jamie Benn, Radulov, and Matthias Janmark. I really like that line. If you can fit them in with Klingberg at 5,800, I'd do it. If not, I'd use Esslo Lindell at 3,700. Now, from the Montreal side, I like the Montreal top line. Anytime you can get exposure to Max Pacioretty, I think you can do it. I think it is not Roussel on the first. I don't think. Jamie Benn. No, it's Roussel's on the third line with Spezza. So Montreal one, I think, anytime you can get exposure to Max Pacioretty, I think, you can do it. I think they're going to be a little bit lower owned tonight. Dallas is a pretty sound defensive team, as crazy as that is to say. That being said, I still like to stack against them from time to time. I'm probably not going to have any Montreal one, but as a top line, I think they're going to be pretty contrarian. I think Ben Bishop's going to have some ownership as well. I think, my favorite third line of the night is definitely Montreal's third line. Charles Hudon, Brendan Gallagher, and who the hell is centering them? Thomas Plekanec. They're going to get, I think, I forget which line that they're going to get it, but they're pretty poor defensively. Are you seeing Roussel on the first line? Dallas beats just go bananas. I'm just going off what they had last game. So make sure you check DFO. I don't mind if it's that on the top line. I like a mini of Ben, Radulov, and Klingberg. Again, my favorite Montreal line tonight is the third line of Plekanec, Hudon, and Gallagher. I really like Brendan Gallagher tonight. I think they're a nice pivot from St. Louis too. I think they're going to have some ownership for sure, but I don't think they're going to be anywhere near what St. Louis 2 or Vancouver 1 is going to be. So I think that's a decent spot to differentiate yourself. On the blue line, Weber, I think, skated this morning. If he's out, Jeff Petrie at 3,300, it's definitely going to be chalk city, but deservedly so. That's chalk that you can eat. I don't mind that play at all. See who slots in with them. I don't know if you really need to punt anybody else. I mean, you can use Joe Morrow if he's in at 3,000. It's really about it. In net, I like Ben Bishop tonight. I think, the Stars have a good chance to win. I do like the secondary lines for Montreal, so and he's a little pricey at 7,800, but I definitely think Ben Bishop is in play in GPPs. Can even make a case in cash. Charlie Lindgren, 7,500, I think is a GPP only play. I'd avoid him in cash. I think he's coming back down to earth after his, really good start. I think, he's just holding the fort down until Montoya and Price come back. So I think he is just a GPP flyer. So that's the 3-game slate tonight. This is a very interesting 3-game slate. I think these are 3 really good games. So any questions? No? Okay, well, make sure, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, got some leveraging goalie plays, but I make chalkiest line is probably going to be St. Louis 1. I think you can, differentiate your goalies for sure. I don't know if going all in on one goalie is the play on a 3-game slate. I don't know if there is a play on a 3-game slate. I think, you just got to mix it up. They're Montreal 3. Yeah, I like Montreal 3 with Gallagher, Hudon, and Plekanec. No, I do like the second line, just not as much as I like the third line. So, let me wrap this up. Like I mentioned in the beginning, Philadelphia 2 is okay. I like Simmons for sure. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, our premium chat has moved to Slack. It's going to be an all-day thing instead of 1 hour. So if you sign up for premium, you'll get an email invite to Slack. So make sure you join that. I'm in there all the time. Adam and Brock are in there as well. So sign up for premium. Come tilt the slates with us in chat. So good luck, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Giant slate.